You must appoint judges and sheriffs for yourselves in all your cities that God, your God, is giving you for each of your tribes. They must judge the people by rendering fair judgments. You must not pervert justice. You must not show partiality. You must not accept a bribe, for bribery blinds the eyes of the sages and perverts the just words of the Torah. Justice must you pursue in order that you live and take possession of the land that God your God is giving you. You must not plant for yourself a deified tree or any tree near the altar of God your God that you will make for yourself. You must not erect for yourself a single stoned altar pedestal, which God your God hates. You must not slaughter to God your God a work bull, sheep, or goat that acquires a defect through any improper pronouncement by its slaughterer, for God your God considers this an abomination. If there be found among you within one of your cities that God your God is giving you, a man or woman performing the act that God your God deems evil, transgressing his covenant, by going and worshipping other people's deities and prostrating himself before them, or before the sun, the moon, or any heavenly body, all of which I have commanded you not to worship. And this is to be reported. This is reported to you, and you hear it, and you investigate it thoroughly. And it is found to be true, because the evidence agrees, establishing that this abomination has been committed in Israel. You must bring the man or woman who committed this evil thing to the gate of the city, this man or woman, and you must pelt them with stones, that they die thereby. The person liable to death must be condemned to death by the testimony of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses. He may not be condemned to death by the testimony of 1 witness. The hand of the witnesses must be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the collective hand of all the people. So must you eliminate the evil from your midst. If the solution to a matter in judgment eludes you to distinguish between one type of blood and another, to distinguish between one type of legal case and another, or between one type of dermal lesion and another, rendering any such matters subjects of dispute in your cities, you must arise and go up to the place that God your God will have chosen. You must approach the Levitic priests and the judge who will be at that time, and inquire of them. They will tell you the solution to the matter in question. You must act in accordance with the verdict that they tell you from the place that God will have chosen. You must be careful to act in accordance with everything they instruct you. You must act in accordance with the law that they instruct you and the judgment they pronounce you. You may not deviate right or left from what they tell you. Any person who acts maleficently, not obeying the priest who stands there to serve God, your God, or the judge, that person must be put to death, and you must eliminate this evil from Israel. The entire people must listen and be afraid, so that they will no longer act maleficently. When you enter the land that God your God has given you, take possession of it and settle it. And you say, I will appoint a king over myself like all the nations around me. And you may indeed appoint a king over yourself, one whom God your God chooses. You must appoint a king over yourself from among your brothers. You may not appoint a foreigner, one who is not your brother, over yourself. But he must not acquire many horses for himself, so that he not bring the people back to Egypt in order to procure many horses. If For God has said to you, you must never return along that path. He must not take many wives for himself, in order that his heart may not be distracted. He must not acquire too much silver and gold for himself. When he sits upon his royal throne, he must write for himself a second copy of this Torah on a scroll from the Torah scroll in the care of the Levitic priests. It must remain with him, and he must read from it every day of his life, so that he may learn to revere God, his God, to safeguard all the words of this Torah and these rules by studying them, so that he know how to properly perform them, so that his heart will not become haughty over his brothers, so that he will not deviate either to the right or to the left from the commandment, in order that he prolong his time over his kingdom, and he and his sons among Israel. The Levitic priest, the entire tribe of Levi, must have no portion in the spoils of the war, nor any land inheritance with the rest of Israel. They must eat God's fire offerings in his inheritance. They must have no land inheritance among their brothers. God is their inheritance, as he spoke concerning them. The following must be the priest's entitlement from the people, from those who slaughter, be it a work bull or sheep. He must give the priest the foreleg, the cheeks, and the stomach. You must give him the first of your grain, wine, and oil, and the first of the fleece of your flock. For God your God has selected him out of all your tribes to stand and serve in the name of God, he and his sons, for all the time. If a Levite priest comes from one of your cities out of all Israel, where he sojourns, he may come whenever his soul desires to the place God will choose, and serve in the name of God his God, just like all his Levite priests, brothers, who stand there before God. They must eat equal portions, except those portions that were sold by the heads of each division to each other. When you enter the land that God your God has given you, you must not study the abominations of these nations in order to act likewise. There must not be among you anyone who passes his son or daughter through fire, a stick diviner, a diviner of times, an illusionist, a diviner who interprets omens, a divining sorcerer, a snake or scorpion diviner, a spirit diviner, or a Yadua diviner, or a diviner who communicates with the dead. For whoever does these things becomes an abomination to God. And because of these abominations, God your God is driving them out from before you. Be wholehearted with God your God. Whereas these nations whom you are dispossessing hearken to diviners of times, illusionists, and stick diviners, as for you, God your God has not abandoned you to these. God your God will appoint a prophet for you from among you, from your brothers, like I am. You must hearken to him, in accordance with everything you asked of God your God at Mount Horeb on the day of the assemblage, saying, I prefer not to continue to hear the voice of God my God, and not to see this great fire any more, that I not die. And God said to me, they have done well in what they have spoken. I will authorize a prophet for them among their brothers like you. I will place my words into his mouth, and he will speak to them all that I command him to tell them. Whoever does not hearken to my words which he speaks in my name, I will exact punishment from him. As for the prophet who intentionally says something in my name that I did not command him to say, or who speaks in the name of other people's deities, such a prophet must be put to death. If you say to yourself, how can we recognize the word that God did not speak? If the prophet speaks in the name of God and the thing does not transpire and does not come to pass, that is what God did not say. The prophet has spoken it maleficently. You must not be afraid of him. When God your God cuts off the nations whose land God your God is giving you, and you dispossess them and dwell in their cities and in their houses, you must designate for yourself 3 cities of refuge in the midst of your land, which God your God is giving you to possess. Prepare for yourself the way to these cities. Divide the area within the border of your land, which God your God has given you as an inheritance, into 3, so it will be convenient for any murderer to flee there. The following is the case in which the inadvertent murderer may flee there, so that he may live. Whoever strikes his fellow inadvertently, whom he did not hate previously, as when a person goes with his fellow into the forest to chop wood, and his hand swings the axe to fell the tree, and the iron flies off the handle, and it reaches his fellow, and he dies. He must flee to one of these cities and live, lest the blood avenger pursue the killer while his heart is hot, and overtake him because the way to the city is too long, and he strikes him to death, although he was not deserving of death, for he did not hate him previously. Therefore I command you, saying, you must designate for yourself 3 cities. When God your God will expand your boundary as he swore to you, your forefathers, and he gives you all the land that he said he would give to your forefathers, provided that you safeguard this commandment completely by studying how to perform it, the commandment that I am commanding you today, to love God, your God, and to walk in his ways for all time. You must add 3 more cities for yourself there, in addition to these 3 in Canaan, so that the innocent blood not be shed in the midst of your land that God your God is giving you for an inheritance, which would make you guilty of having shed this blood. But if a man hates his fellow, and he lies in wait for him, rises up against him, and strikes him mortally, and he dies, and he flees to one of these cities, the elders of this city must send emissaries and take him from there and deliver him into the hand of the blood avenger, that he may die. He must not pity him. You must eliminate the injustice of shedding the blood of the innocent victim from Israel, and it will go well for you. You must not push back your neighbor's landmark, which your predecessors have erected as border markers in your land inheritance that you will inherit in the land that God your God is giving you to possess. One witness must not rise up against any accused person and implicate him for any iniquity or for any sin regarding any sin that he may commit. The matter must be confirmed by the testimony of 2 witnesses or by the testimony of 3 witnesses. If corrupt witnesses rise up against a person to bear untenable testimony against him, the 2 men testifying about the people between whom the controversy exists must stand trial themselves before God, before the priest, and the judges who will be at that time. The judges must investigate the matter thoroughly, and if the witnesses are false witnesses, because they have testified falsely against their brother, you must do to them what they plotted to do to their brother. You must eliminate the evil from your midst. Those who remain must listen in fear, so that they no longer continue to commit any such evil thing among you. You must not have pity. Compensation must be paid, and life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, leg for leg. When you go out to war against your enemies, and you see a horse and a chariot, a people more numerous than you must not be afraid of them, for God your God, who brought you up out of Egypt, is with you. When you approach the battlefield, the priest must approach and speak to the people. He must say to them, "Hear, Israel, today you are approaching the battle against your enemies. You must not let your hearts become faint. You must not be afraid. You must not be alarmed, and you must not be terrified of them. For God your God is the one who accompanies you to fight for you against your enemies and to save you." The sheriffs must speak to the people, saying, "Has anyone built a new house but has not inaugurated it? He must go and return to his house, lest he die in the war and another man inaugurate it. And has anyone planted a vineyard but not redeemed it? He must go and return to his house, lest he die in the war and another man redeem it. Has anyone betrothed a woman but not yet taken her as a wife? He must go and return to his house, lest he die in the war and another man take her in his stead. The sheriffs must then speak additionally to the people and say, "Is there anyone who is fearful and faint-hearted? He must go and return to his house, so as to not cause the heart of his brothers to melt as his heart has." When the sheriffs finish addressing the people, they must appoint officers over the legions to stand at the head and at the rear of the people. If you approach a city to wage war against it, you must propose peace to it. If it responds to you with peace, and it opens up its gates to you, all the people found therein must become tributary to you and serve you. If it does not make peace with you and wages war against you, you must besiege it. God your God will deliver it into your hands, and you must kill all its males by the sword. However, the women and the children and the animals and everything that is in the city, all its spoils, you may take for yourself, and you will consume the spoils of your enemies, that God your God will have given you. You must do likewise to all the cities that are very distant from you, which are not one of the cities of these nations. It is only with regard to any of the cities of these peoples which God your God is giving you as an inheritance, so that you must not allow any soul to live. Rather, you must utterly destroy them, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as God your God has commanded you, in order that they not teach you to act in accordance with all their abominations that they have performed for their deities, whereby you would be sinning against God your God. If you besiege a city, a city for many days, to wage war against it, in order to capture it, you must not destroy its fruit trees by wielding an axe against them. For since you may eat from them, you must not cut them down. Is the tree of the field a man who is able to come into the besieged city, fleeing from you? However, you may destroy and cut down any tree that you know is not a food tree, and use its wood to build a blockade against the city that wages war against you, keeping the city besieged until its submission. If a slain person be found lying in the field in the land that God your God has given you to possess, and it is not known who slew him, your elders and judges must go out and measure the distance to your cities surrounding the corpse. From the city closest to the corpse, the elders of that city must take a calf with which labor has never been performed and that has never drawn any load with a yoke. And the elders of that city must bring the calf down to a virgin valley that has never been tilled or sown, and there in the valley they must decapitate the calf. The Levitic priest must approach, for God your God has chosen them to serve him and to bless the people in the name of God, and by their mouth must every controversy and every dermal lesion be judged. All the elders of that city who were nearest to the corpse must wash their hands over the calf that was decapitated in the valley, and must declare their innocence and say, "Our hands did not shed this blood, for our eyes did not see him leave our city." Grant atonement for your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, God, and do not lay the guilt of this innocent blood upon your people Israel. Thus the blood guilt will be atoned for them. If the murderer is later found, you must eradicate the guilt of innocent blood from among you by executing him, for you must do what is proper in the eyes of God.